risky in case something goes bad with the house. You won't have any money in equity, and so you will be foreclosed on the house, and you don't want that. So put at least 5%. And I'm saying again, I'm not an expert, but I've done lots of research, and I've seen that actually works for people. You feel like it's time for you to start working on buying a house. You're looking for the tips or any information that can be very useful for you to help you in the process. So if you're interested in buying a house and you want to know more about it, to get ready to buy a house, keep watching. Hi, my name is Amina. I'm a life coach, and I'm here to offer some tips, give you my perspective, and answer some questions you might have. So if you have questions or video suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you like what I do here, please subscribe, like, and share, and help me spread the word. Today I want to talk about how to get ready to buy a house. So, with the pandemic, the house prices have gone really up, and it's getting very difficult to buy a house. So I'm not an expert in that process, but I follow people who are. So with the pandemic, we've seen house prices going up, and it feels crazy even today to think that you can afford a house or a condo or whatever. And so today I just want to give some tips on how to get ready to enter the homeowner market. I am not a real estate agent. I'm not a professional in any ways, but I follow people who are and who give great advice on how to buy a house and how to get ready and how to buy a house. So I've gathered a few tips that I've listed. So I'm going to share them with you. So number one is do your research. So you need to know exactly where you would like to buy. You need to know how much is your budget. You need to know how much you can afford. You need to go do your research, know how mortgages work. You need to know about exchange rate. You need to know about down payments and all that kind of things. So do your research. Don't just jump on the hunt for a house. You need to get ready before you get to that step. This is something that comes way later than what you need to. So that steps comes way later. So focus on getting ready, building the foundation. So go get the information, read about everything, learn about how the market is working, learn about the situation of the market in your city, in your community, in your country, because the situation in Canada is different from the situation in the USA, just like it's different from the situation in Europe or in Africa or Australia. And I know these are continents, so I'm just talking globally. And so go do your research. What is step one when you look for a house? Who do you need to talk to? How much do you need to put down? What is a down payment? What is a realtor? What is a mortgage broker? What is whatever? So you need to get comfortable with the process and knowing what's going on. You need to be comfortable with the information. You need to make sure you're ready. And so when you talk to somebody that is a professional, if they have ill intent, you will be able to catch that, because you're not coming as somebody who knows nothing. They can try to bring you to buy something that you don't need, or to do something you don't need to do, something that is useless and very expensive. So be careful with that. And by having the information, you will have more chances to avoid big mistakes. Tip number 2 is make sure you're debt free. So I know a lot of people won't agree with that, and I am not the expert here, but from what I've seen, when the experts share that advice, people get angry and they don't understand. For some people, having a little bit of debt is fine. For somebody like Dave Ramsey, for example, that I follow, debt is like you need to get rid of it. And so I tend to agree with him. And for me, if you buy a house and you have no debt, you have better chances to be able to make your mortgage payments every month, rather than having to pay for the mortgage and then you have all kinds of payments leaving your paycheck. And at some point you end up struggling because you don't know how you're gonna pay the next bill, the electricity or the food or whatever. So make sure you're debt free to the best of your ability. I really would I really would advise you to do that. Don't go buy a house if you have $100,000 in debt. Make sure you have your cushion, your emergency fund. So, and when you have your house, if something breaks in the house, you can fix it because you have some money aside instead of being in debt. But you're grown up, you do what works for you, but this is what I would advise, and I completely agree with Mr. Dave Ramsey on that one. Step number 3 is, once you're debt free, so I was talking about the down payment, now you need to save for your down payment. Well, how much do you want to put down? Is it 5%? Is it 10, 15, 20? When you put 20%, it allows you to avoid having to pay for a more private mortgage insurance. So depending on the country, the name is different, but I know in the USA it's what they call PMI. So if you put down less than 20%, you have to pay a monthly charge for the private mortgage insurance. And when you pay that, it's an extra payment that goes into your monthly payment of in your monthly expenses. So if you can put down 20%, that's ideal. At least you only focus on the mortgage payment, and the other things you will have to pay in the month, like insurance and things like that, HOA fees, and so yeah, you don't want to, if possible, of course. Now, I believe what is really important is to get on the market. So if you can put down 5% and you can afford the monthly payments with the mortgage insurance, and you're still comfortable with your budget, you can pay for all the other stuff, and you have your goals that you can still meet, that's okay. But if you put down 5% and you're struggling every month to make your monthly payment, your mortgage payment, that means maybe you're not ready to buy a house. So yeah, so run your numbers, make sure that you can put down something, at least 5%. Don't try to put 0 because it's risky. In case something goes bad with the house, you won't have any money in equity, and so you will be foreclosed on the house, and you don't want that. So put at least 5%. And I'm saying again, I'm not an expert, but I've done lots of research and I've seen that actually works for people. Ideally 20%, so you avoid PMI, and then you're considered less at risk by the bank. So I believe it increases your chances of getting a mortgage at a better rate, rather than putting down 0%, no equity, and anytime you can be foreclosed on the house. Before we get to the next point, just wanted to remind you that I have a website where you can find everything that I do, whether it's my one-on-one coaching service or my blog or other things that I do. You're gonna find the link in the description box. Thanks in advance for visiting it. My next point is number 4, get a mortgage pre-approval before you go looking for a place. This is important because in this current market, because you have bidding wars, people who are not ready will be priced out of the market. People who are not ready won't even be considered by the seller, because you won't be seen as somebody that is serious about buying a house. If you go over there and you already have your pre-mortgage approval, people will know that, oh, you know what, you're pre-qualified by the bank. Of course, if you have the money and you pay cash, that's a different scenario. But for most people, it's going to be a mortgage. And so you get your pre-mortgage approval. When you go now, you have your pre-mortgage approval. Now you can start visiting, checking the houses. And make sure that when you get your pre-mortgage approval, your mortgage pre-approval, make sure that when you get your mortgage pre-approval, that you can actually afford it, because the bank will tend to give you as much as they can, as long as they consider you're not in a risky position. So if you can afford a $250,000 condo, don't go take a mortgage of $350,000, because you know that this is not in your budget. So when you go do the mortgage pre-approval, be careful to tell the bank, you know what, this is the maximum that I want to invest. I don't want more than that. I'm completely fine. Just say this is my maximum. And the good thing is, when they do that now, you know that you have to stay within that limit, and you can go look for houses, condos, and make sure that you don't go over the amount you're comfortable with. And the other part is, when you have that, you know that you have better chances to get your mortgage, and you can show it to the seller when you make an offer. And of course, the best thing to do when you have you have your mortgage pre-approval, now you can go seek for houses, condos, whatever. Step number 5, now you need to look for a realtor, a real estate agent. A realtor will help you to buy a house, because the realtor knows everything. The realtor, a good one, somebody who has experience, somebody who sells tons of house every year, not somebody who started yesterday or somebody who sold 2 houses or 2 condos. Make sure that this is somebody who has experience, who knows the market, who is honest, somebody who's gonna be there for you anytime, somebody you can talk to when you're afraid, somebody who can advise you on what's the best way, somebody who has a network, because maybe when you did your mortgage pre-approval, you didn't do it with the right person, with the right bank, and maybe they can send you to somebody they trust, and that person has done a great job for their previous clients, and so they can show you somebody you can work with. So consider having a realtor, especially if you're not a professional yourself. It's better because it increases your chances of not making mistakes, because on a house, 10% mistakes, it's a lot of money you're losing. And because they're professional, they will know how to sell your house, how to buy your house fast as possible. Of course, they will know the tips and tricks. They know how to manage the other realtor, for example, the seller's realtor. So they know how to deal with that kind of things. They know the paperwork, they know everything you need to do. So they're gonna just tell you, okay, next step is this, blah blah blah. Make sure you participate. You don't just follow along. You also have a say in the situation, because it's your money. You have to be the one to say, this is my maximum in my budget, I don't want more than that. And you're the one saying, I want this place or I don't want it. So yeah, go with the realtor, it's better. Now, if you're a professional yourself, that's a different situation. But if you don't know much about buying or selling a house, go with a realtor, it's better. They're gonna help you to sell your house, to buy your house at a better price also. The next step is, once you have Now, once you have found with the realtor a place you really like, now you're gonna move to the closing step. So you're gonna have a time where you decide to take a house or not. You will have a time when you make an offer to the seller, and when you do that with your realtor who knows the job, they will be able to advise you on how to do it the best. What is the best price to buy it if it's a market that is really hot and you have many offers? So the realtor will advise you on something that he or her believes is the best, has the best chances to be taken, but also that is not too high that it doesn't match the house's price. You don't want to offer something that is way above the house value, and then 2 years later you realize that, I overpaid for this place. No. With a realtor, it should be able to tell you, okay, in this situation you have 10 people trying to get that house. It went up to like 30% of the original price, or above 30% of the original price. I don't think it's a good idea to try to follow the war. Just leave it, let's move on. Even if you're scared that you won't be able to find a good place for you because it's too expensive, but at some point you don't want to buy something and have regrets, so be careful with that. For the closing, you have many steps, but the goal of this video is for you to get ready to buy a house. So I'm not going to talk about the closing phase because I don't know much about it, and I think it can be technical, and I don't want to talk about something that I don't know really well. Okay, so before I end up with my point, so I want to talk about something that is really important. So it's the power of cash. I've noticed that, we talk about the credit score. The bank, when they see you have a high credit score, they're more likely to give you a mortgage. But I've observed that if you actually have cash, it reassures more the lender. And so save as much as possible, because having a lot of cash is always powerful. When people see that amount in your bank account, they know that you're a serious person that knows how to save and that can save. They know that you're very diligent. If you were able to save, for example, 100,000, they know that, okay, that person has the discipline to save, and so we can trust that person. You have, for me, in my opinion, of course, you have better chances to get a mortgage at a better price with more cash than with a high credit score. And I'm not saying you need to have like a garbage credit score, but the more important number should be the cash you have in your bank account. I could be wrong, I'm not an expert, but this is what I've observed. And so yes, when you go to the process, save as much cash as you can, and the bank will take you more seriously than if you don't. So as a recap, tips to get ready to buy a house. So number 1 is do your research. Number 2, make sure you're debt free. Number 3, save for your down payment. Number 4, get your mortgage pre-approval. Number 5, get an agent, realtor. Number 6, close on. I said I'm not going to talk about the closing. So but I talked a little bit about that. And so my challenge for you today is, I know the market is very hot right now, and so if you're discouraged about buying a house, especially if you're single and you're doing it on your own, don't give up. And I know it's easier said than done, but the thing is, the other option is to rent for the rest of your life. So save as much as you can run your numbers and see what you can actually afford. Sometimes you need to start small, not even sometimes, it's better to start small, even if it's not the ideal place, but at least you have your foot in the door. You can buy something that is livable, that is comfortable, that is safe, clean, in a good place, in a good area in your city. Even if it doesn't have everything, it's not the perfect place you wanted in the beginning, that's okay. Start with something. So start small and then go up over time, but at least you're locking your mortgage payments, because if you keep renting, at some point the rent will go up. And I'm not saying you should never rent, that's not the case, but at some point, if you have rented for 5-7 years, now you're in a position where you can buy. You don't owe money to anybody, you have your down payment, you can afford your mortgage payment and electricity and all the other expenses that come. Just go and buy, but buy something that you can afford. Don't try to pay more and then you will be in trouble later. Be careful with that. So keep the faith, keep looking, run your numbers, and stay disciplined. So please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you like what I do here. And if you have questions or video suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. My question for you today is, do you believe it's still possible to buy a house in this market? Because I've heard many people, I've seen videos of people saying, no, we can no longer buy a house. If you live, for example, in New York City or Toronto or London, these cities are very expensive, Vancouver. And so if you live over there, I totally understand what you're saying, because the salary doesn't keep up with the inflation when it comes to the houses. And so, yeah. But even in those situations, do you believe it's still possible? What do you need to do to get that there? Most of the time you're gonna hear that, okay, if you can't afford to live here, move and go to a place where you can have a salary that allows you to buy something. Living in a place like Toronto is very, very, very difficult to buy a house. So that's it for today. I hope this video helps. Until next time, I wish you a good week and I will see you later. Bye. Thanks for watching.